3 is the future.
Welcome, crew, to What Are Your 3, a Channel 3 podcast where we take a member of the Channel 3 community, discuss 3 games of their choosing, go through some honorable mentions and some odds and ends for a nice little video game discussion. I'm Dan. With me, as always, Ray.
What's going on, people? We have an actual professional today on the show. He's the host of the Retro Wildlands podcast. It is Nomad. Nomad, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, especially since you're all up in here calling me a professional and stuff. Obviously, the check is cashed, so that's good to hear.
The second you came in, though, you flexed the podcast voice. And they're like, oh, great. We just got taken down a peg because you came in just like flexing the golden pipes. And
well, if need be, let me dial it down a little bit. How you guys doing? It's really great to be here.
That's the normal voice in everyday life. That's
Oh yeah, I put up this front and the vocal cords are tired, but hey, we're getting by.
It's okay. It's okay. I just got home from a week with like 19 middle schoolers up in the mountains. So this is
man.
So you guys are all much more professional than I am at this moment.
Ray's back from the wilderness. His own wildlands, not the
back from the wilderness. This is true. It was a nice trip. A little cold, but it was nice.
So you survived. It's awesome that you made it.
I made it.
The beard looks ruggeder, if that's possible.
He'll change it by Wednesday, undoubtedly. He'll look like he's like what was that thing that had the magnetic shavings in it that when you could like design the guy's hair and beard?
The Etch-a-Sketch, right? Or something? I don't even remember.
I mean, that one has the same.
Woolly Wally or something like that, I think. They probably had a bunch of names, but that's
Dan's going back on that one.
Yeah, you wouldn't know, Ray. They probably said iPhone apps for you guys. Nomad's probably got it.
They have that stuff in children's museums now, as like fun science experiment.
I need to get more early 20s people on here so Ray can get dunked on too, and not just me. That's not what we're here for though. Again, we're gonna go back to the 90s. We're gonna start off your 3 here, and you've gone back to an OG. Somehow criminally 4.3 rated on Channel 3. I'm not really thrilled about that. I don't think there's an appreciation. We'll go into that some other time. But you're starting off with Resident Evil. That's your number
Resident Evil.
I thought it was Little Kitty Raccoon City. Is that not the first game today?
I put my plea out to Capcom. I really hope they decide to take that IP up. That'd be wonderful. But yeah, no, Resident Evil, the original on the PlayStation. Like my journey as a gamer, I think, more or less started like in the cradle. So I've been playing ever since I was born, really, but it wasn't until the original PlayStation that I really truly felt that I have transcended into becoming a gamer. And Resident Evil was the game, the catalyst that kind of got me there. There's a lot of survival horror games that are out today, and it's awesome. I love it. It's my favorite genre, but it all starts with the original Resident Evil. So, allow me, if I can, to regale you two and our listeners with a story of how this came to be, because it is by far my favorite story to tell. All right, where's the harmonica? Me. All right.
I'm not adding that sound in later. I added an air horn in on the book club discussion. That was the best I could do. I can't do a tuning fork if that's what we're looking for.
I trust you to put in whatever makes sense. So one day, my stepfather comes home from work, and this is after we've had a PlayStation in the house for maybe several months. So we've just been in this routine of renting games and trying new games out. And he comes home from work, and he walks past me, kind of grunts and says hello like he normally does. But I notice he's got a jewel case underneath his arm, like he's trying to hide it from me. So of course, little Nomad is very curious, and I asked my stepfather, hey, what do you got there? It looks like a game. And he turns to me and he looks at me with, I can only describe them as stepdad eyes. I don't know. They were like laser focused on me. No hint of emotion. It was dead serious. And all he said was, this game, and he shows it to me, is called Resident Evil. And you are not allowed to play it, and you can't watch me play it. Puts it back under his arm and then leaves the room. And I'm, of course, like stunned, like, what is this?
Stupid ESRB.
That's exactly what it was. He later told me, he's like, this game is it's bloody, it's violent, it's scary, and I got to play it first and see what it's all about. You can't watch me play it. So exactly the whole damn you ESRB.
Back a few years ago, he wouldn't have known any better. It would have just been right there with him. Yeah.
Exactly. So either that night or the next night, he obviously decides he wants to play it. But the nice thing was he starts to play it, tells me to go to my room, and my room's right off the living room, so it's like I can kind of sneak some peeks out of my bedroom anyway, which was great. But it got to a point where as he started to play the game, and I hear the telltale sounds of the game starting up, like that iconic Resident Evil title calling, right? I start to creep the door open. I actually get on my hands and knees and get behind the couch, and I'm watching him play this game as he's doing it. And I don't know about you two. I hope you both have played it before, but if not, you probably remember those live action cutscenes in the beginning, the black and white with the actors and everything. Like, I saw that and my mouth dropped, and they were talking to boot. It's like, that's common today, but back in the day, it's like, holy crap, this is a movie that's also a game that I'm not supposed to be watching. This is wonderful. But long story short, he got to a point in the game in the beginning where you see that very first zombie, that one that has the slow head turn, right? And I must have made a noise. I squeaked or something because he turned right around. He's like, "What the hell are you doing back there? I told you to be in your room." But thankfully, my stepfather decided to let me watch him play the game at that point. He knew that this was going to happen, whether he wanted it to or not. And that moment of him deciding to let me watch him play this game changed my life forever, because not only did I get to experience this game with him, we started to trade off the controller every once in a while, because I love my stepdad. He's probably going to watch this. Love you, man. But he is not the best gamer ever, really. And there's times where him and I will in the future we'll trade games off and play together. But it was an awesome experience. I mean, it really got me into a game that, taking a step back and really looking at it for what it was to me, up to that point, we had a Super Nintendo, and it was just games that you're either floating around in the Mushroom Kingdom just trying to get to the end of levels, or you're chasing a high score. Now we're playing a game that not only has a narrative, it's a very intriguing story for the times. The presentation is so different, and these people are talking to you, albeit terribly. The voice acting is its own discussion.
The live action acting was also its own discussion, to be clear, too.
But it was there.
It was there, and if
there.
If you think about it now, you think back to it, and it's like, it was so bad it's iconic, so bad that it's good, kind of thing, and it really made that game's identity. But all of that together, like this series ended up becoming one of my favorites. But really, it was just the idea that now there's actual stakes to a video game. It's not just trying to get the score or get to the end of the level. Like, there's a mystery to solve here, and death can come swiftly in this game, and it did several times for us. Like, jump scares, I mean, you name it. So, like, yeah, I've been rambling a little bit. I'll let you guys talk about what your feelings are, if nothing else. But this is the game that propelled me on my path forward as a gamer. Pure and simple.
You hit two of the three big points for that Resident Evil, just kind of mind-blowing transition experience. And like, I did not have a gaming PC, or, you know, not that you had to have gaming PCs back then, but I did not have a PC where, like, okay, you had like your Wing Commanders and stuff like that had like that live action element to it. But this was the first, like, oh my God, they put an actual movie in the middle of this game. And that was like, there are three things that just stick in my mind. That you hit two of them. You hit the live action. It's like, what is happening here? They're in costumes. They've made a movie. Again, looking back, it's comically terrible acting. But then you talk about, like, the first time you walk up on the zombie sitting there munching, and then the shotgun puzzle is the other thing that comes to mind. So that's the only one you didn't touch on. So I have to ask about that.
Oh yeah, it was great. So I still remember vividly how we came across this. For the uninitiated, you walk into this room, and when you walk into this room, the camera's kind of like top down looking at you, and it's an empty room, and you're kind of like, well, I don't know what's up with this. But you go into the next room, and it's a nice, lavish, furnished living room. It's kind of safe feeling after all the horrors you've seen. And then you find on the wall this shotgun that's hanging in a picture frame. And it was like the biggest sigh of relief that both my stepdad and I had at the same time. Like, oh my God, now we've got a fighting chance. This is great. So of course you take the shotgun, and then as soon as you take the shotgun, the two hooks that it's hanging on just move up. Kerchink. And my stepdad turns the character around because he's controlling Jill at this point, and I'm like, hold up. That's something's funky here. And I remember him looking at me and just going, "Psh, it's fine." Famous last words. So he goes into the next room and the trap springs. The door locks, the ceiling in the next room starts to come down. He goes to the door, it's locked. Goes back the way we came, it's locked. He's freaking out. And I'm waiting for I should have listened to you, but of course it never came. But then comes the most iconic, arguably, cutscene in the entire game. Barry Burton knocks down the door and brings Jill to safety and says, "That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich." And we laugh about that kind of stuff now, but in the moment, our hearts were just pumping. We were happy to have survived that terrible experience.
I don't even remember that part because I thought you just died. I thought you had to have the old shotgun that you had to replace it with.
Well, that's the
I
thing.
don't remember the cutscene. Oh no.
Here's the best part about this game, and I haven't really dabbled with it much even today. Certain events can play out depending on the order in which you do certain activities.
And which character you are.
And in which character you are, correct. So example, if you're playing with Chris, absolutely you must have a broken shotgun to replace that
Or you're
new
dead.
shotgun, or you are dead, and it is bloody as all hell. But for Jill, as long as you talk to Barry, I think on the first floor at some point, and you don't see him anywhere else in the mansion, and then you go to that shotgun room, he will be there 100% of the time. If you go talk to him on the second floor or something like that, then you'll need the new shotgun, and you won't figure that out until you're a pancake. I'm sorry, a Jill sandwich.
I learned something today. This is informative and educational, even still after all this time.
Hey, that's my lot in life. I want to educate, entertain, and inform.
All right, so I have to ask because you talked about terrible gaming here. I don't know your stepfather from Adam, so apologies, good sir. I make no judgments when I bring this up, but you're talking about a tank view for this game. So you're looking at the view changing every room you walk into. You mentioned like the shotgun room. You got the overhead view. Some you've got you suddenly go from okay, you're behind the character to now you turn a corner and suddenly the character's facing towards you and you have to use character orientation. So like their left is left, their right is right. And that messed with my brain. I had never played a game like that. And I died plenty of times as a result of purely my brain shutting down on the controls. How did that go for you guys?
It's funny you bring that up because thinking back, we actually did not have too hard a time getting used to those controls, and I'm not entirely sure why. The loosely trademarked tank controls, as they call them, directions based on the forward-facing direction of the character, like it's like rotating, like you're on a platform, right? I don't remember taking a lot of time really getting used to it, and maybe that was just a product of the time. That's all we had to work with, so we just kind of gritted our teeth and bared it. But my stepdad struggled with it a little bit, I think, just in general. Me, I picked it up fairly quickly, and now if I'm playing a survival horror game in any capacity that has like the static camera angles or anything like that, I prefer tank controls. Like, I feel like I'm in a minority nowadays, but like I will die on that hill. The tank controls are just the bee's knees. But I will say it did take us a while to get used to them when we were in situations of just like pure panic. And it actually took us a while to figure out the character can run by holding down the square button. You guys remember the iconic dog through the window in the hallway scene?
That was coming up because I was going to ask how many nightmares and or quiet rooms were you not able to be in for a while, depending on your age when that happens.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's funny because the music in that game, it was very well done and set the atmosphere. But what I also thought was equally as terrifying is when rooms had no music at all and all you heard was maybe your character's footsteps kind of thing. But I'll never forget when the zombie dog burst through the window, just because my stepdad was controlling Jill and we weren't expecting it. And then kapow, the dog comes through the window. The music goes up and is very adrenaline filled now. And it was to a point where as soon as it happened, I jumped. He jumped, and then I heard a very loud noise, like in the room that I was in with him. And I realized that he had dropped the controller on the coffee table. So he's freaking out, trying to find the controller. His Jill's taking damage on screen, and then by the time he finally gets the controller up, he's starting to move, and then he's like, "Can we run in this game? Why is she walking?" And we died. It was great, but
Yeah, my dad called those racing straight moments of just the underwear needing to be changed when suddenly you have the just the stuff crashing through. Whether it's but it doesn't get better when you get to 2. But the dogs jumping through the window were just like same. He probably dropped the controller also because he insisted on playing it in the dark. As well in the daytime. You had to play that in the dark. And I was in the same player 2 position in a 1-player game of just like, no, I'm watching this thing. I'm 12, 13 when that game came out. And just like, no, I'm watching this one. And oh God, that one. Yeah, probably a dropped controller also. That sounds about right.
Oh, it definitely happens. And then to finish your question out to me, it took me a while after moments like that to really be comfortable in a quiet room, because like there were some nights where I'd go to bed and it's quiet. I don't have a fan on, AC's not on, none of that sort of stuff, and all I can hear is like the house creaking. Like there were some nights I was up later than normal for sure.
I don't know what they really figured out the sound design thing, because it wasn't like they played up the music for a jump scare, but like you said, I think I learned by the later part of 2, like, oh, it's quiet, too quiet, really stuck out because they were really subtle with it. We're just like, oh no, I don't realize there's no music anymore. I don't realize just like the tension that comes from the silence that they don't make a big production of was beautiful.
So I don't think we really appreciated it while we were playing the game in the moment back in the 90s, but looking back at it now, they did such a great job with the way that they set up the sound design and the atmosphere. Move forward with Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, you can tell that they're learning their lessons and they're trying to try new things and expand on that scary sort of atmosphere or what have you. But the very first game, Resident Evil, really set the groundwork for that kind of stuff. And I mean, even looking back at it today, it's still a pretty good game, all things considered, and it could still scare you if you really wanted to, even if it's not nearly as gory nowadays as it kind of was led to be back then. Like, it's funny showing this game to my stepdad now. Like, this game here, pixelated blood, is why you didn't want me to play this game. Come on, man.
Yeah, these blocky, realistic characters you thought were going to keep me awake at night, and wait, no, the dogs did probably keep me awake at night. But anyway, that's not the point here. That's not. So you guys played through as Jill the first. Did you go through the second playthrough then after that?
Yeah, we did. Chris was definitely a lot more difficult, only because the events were different, enemy layouts were different. But the biggest thing that players will notice is where Jill can carry 8 items on her at once, Chris can only carry 6. And it was to a point where it actually agitated the both of us, to a point where we actually looked at Chris's character model in game, and it's like, you've got more than 6 pockets. What is this? But it was a fun challenge, and it was an interesting story. We got to meet Rebecca Chambers, who's another character that you don't meet at all as Jill. So it was fun playing that experience again, although we did not beat it with Chris for a little while. It was pretty difficult.
Yeah, there's a severe conversation to be had as my wife tries to hand me extra stuff to put in my cargo shorts that she does not have the capacity for. So,
oh, your wife does that too. I love when she just turns around and hands things to you, and it's just like you motion to your pockets, like, I am not a pack mule. I only have so much. I love you, honey. I know you're watching.
I came prepared. It's not my fault. So you mentioned this continued on with the series for you. Is that to this day? Have you gone on through? Are you waiting for the alleged 9 production, possibly 10, not far behind simultaneously there? Those rumors have been swirling again of late and all that. But did you continue on, like you and stepdad playing through 2 onward?
It's actually kind of funny. We ourselves did not continue to play the games on together, and it's not that my stepdad didn't want to. It was one of those, like, I wasn't waiting for him. I ended up getting a hold of Resident Evil 2 pretty quickly after it launched, and I just started playing through it. And he went on to other games too. We actually reconverged together in one of my other big three games, but we'll put a pin in that for now. But yeah, I kind of largely left my stepdad behind, but I would go so far as to call myself a borderline self-proclaimed fanboy when it comes to the Resident Evil series. I've played all the mainline series. I've played a lot of the offshoots. I've still got a couple gaps here and there. But as far as Resident Evil 9 goes, I'm actually making it a point to stay as far away from any of that as possible, just because I started to fall down the rabbit hole of like, here's some rumors. It might be on an island. It might be with these characters, and it might have these mechanics in it. And it's just like,
it might be a game,
right? It might be a game or just an elaborate Sudoku puzzle for all we know.
Or is it?
Right. So I don't like getting caught up in that kind of stuff. Just give me some truth, and then maybe I'll pay some attention to it. It will be a day one purchase for me without discussion. That's just kind of how I am with this series. But there was one time where I really got vested in in the next game coming out, and I was very disappointed with it. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, if either of you two have played that one before. Third person, kind of a squad-based shooter. You actually play as the bad guys. You play as the Umbrella Corporation trying to clean up the outbreak in Raccoon City. On paper, it sounds wonderful. In execution, it did not meet my expectations.
Yeah, I'd have to look and see too. Those probably subcontracted out to somebody that they're like, oh, we can make a few bucks off of somebody else developing this, and we'll get enough to buy it to justify it. And that, yeah, it's probably one of those situations.
Yeah, I could be misremembering this, but I know the company was Slant 6 Games, and I feel like they did SOCOM or some variation thereof. That much I could be wrong about, but they brought in a team that does squad-based shooters, and somehow they made a mess of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's playable, and it's kind of dumb fun, and it's one of my guilty pleasure games, fully admitting that, but it let me down.
Yeah, when it's playable as your first descriptor, that's probably telling you all.
Slant 6 Games. Look at that. Canadian-based game developer.
That's the one.
Did SOCOM Fireteam Bravo 3?
Ooh.
Oh, they didn't even do like SOCOM. They did an offshoot of SOCOM.
SOCOM Confrontation, which was a discontinued online multiplayer tactical third person. She has a lot of words. And SOCOM Tactical Strike. So they like to do this tactical shooter thing. Apparently, that's
all of which I have on my PSP wall over there.
Not wrong. Tactical Strike Fireteam Bravo 3 on the PSP. Confrontation says PlayStation 3, but maybe it was on PSP as well.
Yeah.
And then Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City 2012 squad-based third-person shooter.
Like, on paper, it had the best premise. And, like, just in general, there's something very alluring about playing the bad guy in any video game or watching any sort of media, getting their perspective. So, like, they had all the tools and they had all the pieces set up for success. But, it just hurts my heart.
And then they moved on to mobile games after Resident Evil. I think people gave up on them.
Ew.
They don't have a game past 2013. That was kind of it.
Yeah, so Resident Evil as a series, there's some high points, but there's also some dips in their valley every now and then too.
Well, let's transition. We're going to stay in the horror genre as your second game is Silent Hill 3, a true sequel to Silent Hill set 17 years later. You've given this a 5-star rating. You've propelled Silent Hill 3 because the funny thing is, like, usually I'm expecting Silent Hill 1 or 2.
I'm not going to pretend that I knew there was a third game.
There's more than 3, and you want to talk about dumpster fire spinoffs that happen? Silent Hill is Konami and Silent Hill. They are Konami is prime for bad dump offs they've made of IP properties, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about 3, which again, like it's polished, it's clean, it's got that Konami look of the whatever engine designs they were using at the time, very Metal Gear, Silent Hill 2, like all this stuff was, they had kind of a similar feel that you could tell was a Konami game and all this, but again, polished. But this was your second game here. Was this the reintegration, or do I have to save that transition for the third game?
I was going to say this was the reintegration, but I will say, and maybe I made my notes incorrectly, it is actually the first Silent Hill that we integrated ourselves back into. Third, though, I played a crap ton of that.
Sorry, so what you actually wrote in the message then was 1 Resident Evil, 2 Silent Hill, 3 game number 3 that we're going to discuss. I just read it as Silent Hill 3.
I get it. Yep.
Which is fine. I was like, oh, this is different. Okay, but okay, again, what? And I was intrigued too because you gave 3 5 stars at the same time. And, but again, it was just one of those games like not many people talk about 3 because 1 and 2 are so impactful that usually it gets left in the wake.
Yeah, I will say we'll give 3 just a little bit of love before we go to the first one here. I absolutely, for what it was, really loved Silent Hill 3. Like, it was a continuation of the very first game's story, and because I'd played so much of it, which we'll talk about here in a second, I was very vested in what this game was going to be. I haven't played it since I was a young lad, as it were. I'd almost like to think my 5-star rating would hold up, but I kind of wonder though. It was very.
Let it lie. Leave it where it is.
Yeah, if nothing else, any of the 3 original Silent Hills deserves high accolades. Like the third one was one of the last ones where the original Team Silent were developing it, and it had everybody that were on the original project. So like you can kind of take
off a table after that. Yes.
Oh man, yeah. I haven't played 4, Silent Hill 4 The Room. I really want to, just so I can kind of form my own opinion, but I have
That'll be episode number 800 of the Retro Wildlands. When you're running low. Let's get to Silent Hill 4, okay.
Yeah, so we got to scrape the bottom of the peanut butter jar at this point. But I've played some of the other Western developed Silent Hills, Downpour, Homecoming. I think Silent Hill Origins that came out on the PS2 and the PSP was Western developed too. That one wasn't awful, but yeah, it really went off on its own. Like some of them are kind of guilty pleasures for what they are, but they kind of lost their way. But
you're here to talk about the beginning. You're here to talk about the first one.
Yeah, great segue for setting that up, Dan.
I got to put this thing back on the rails. I derailed it. I got to put it back on there.
There is a new Silent Hill coming out, by the way.
There
is. The Konami remembered they don't just make pachinko machines. They remembered they've got a filing cabinet full of golden IP and
Silent Hill F.
Yeah, it's they teased it with a broadcast when they announced Silent Hill 2's remake, and there's also some other multimedia, like some TV show or movie or something like that. Something regular media.
Silent Hill Townfall.
Yeah, they got all sorts of stuff coming. That's again the multimedia universe of Silent Hill is an entirely separate discussion I'm not going to have today. I've got to reserve my movie conversations for future game discussions later, but that's for another day. But anyway, Silent Hill, not Silent Hill 3.
Yeah. So this particular game, I can't remember when we played it, like when it came in, but it was definitely after we played the original Resident Evil. But it was the same kind of idea. My stepdad heard about it. We got our hands on it, and we decided to give it a go. And we're Resident Evil veterans at this point, so we figure whatever this game is, we got this thing locked down. It's like not even a discussion. But oh my gosh, were we wrong. The original Silent Hill is more of a psychological horror game than it is like a scary in your face monster kind of a thing. And we had no idea at all what was going on in this game's story. Like it was one of those like there's these monsters and maybe there's a cult or something. All I know is this guy's daughter is missing and we got to find her. So the story meant nothing to us, but we were just enthralled by the idea of trying to find this guy's Harry Mason's, his daughter, and exploring this fog-filled town of just horror and mystery. Resident Evil set me up for my love of horror games. Silent Hill solidified it. Like, this game scared the crap out of both of us. And now we're not going to look at each other and admit this to each other, nay, but we were both scared, and we both do it. Um, Games like this just kept getting more and more intense, and it was really fun falling in love with the idea that we just wanted to sit down, the two of us, after dinner and figure out how to progress through this game. And that's kind of a nice segue to talk about the puzzles that are in this game. Ugh.
And the thing, like, this is entirely, especially because this is post Resident Evil 2. So you presumably, you said you got 2 under your belt quickly, right? So you're ready, like, okay, if I can serve ammo, I can fight my way out of this. Like, you're ready to battle as much as anything. Like, you can't shoot your way out of Silent Hill. And there's an entirely different vibe element to Silent Hill, which, again, the greatest defect in gaming was their inability to go with the draw distance. Like, you got the fog, and because you can't see, and you're just trying to use these mechanics of hearing stuff in the distance and like using the tools in the game to figure out what's trying to kill you that you can't see, it's so much worse, because like it's so much harsher on you because of that vibe, because of the way you go about it. And it is a puzzle game, and not like okay, let me go shoot 20 zombies down, I can hit them all with one shot and I'll be fine. Like, no, you don't have that option in this game.
Yeah, and you nailed it right on the head. Like, we found ourselves having the Resident Evil mentality. I mean, ammo is limited in Resident Evil, but it's like the thing that sets those two games apart is, in Resident Evil, if there's a threat out there, you can kill it more often than you can't, and then you can take over those areas and you can kind of walk around somewhat free. Silent Hill is not like that at all. If you can even kill an enemy, and your character's like an everyman, so like their skill with a melee weapon or a gun is just marginal at best. If you can take an enemy out, it's probably going to respawn later. So it's like you're kind of wasting your time. You're putting yourself in dangerous situations, and we had to course correct and as Master Yoda once said, we had to unlearn what we had learned and figure out how to play this game new all over again. And that in and of itself was really what made us gravitate towards this experience. That and a couple new game mechanics that Resident Evil didn't have. For one, the flashlight in Silent Hill was the first game, at least that I can remember, that had any sort of semblance of real-time lighting effects. You move your character around and you can see different areas in the dark. And I mean, it's one thing to not be able to see very far in the fog. It's another thing when you're in complete darkness and all you have is a flashlight and you hear something crawling around in the speakers behind you here in the living room. Like, that's, you don't forget that kind of stuff.
So you touched on the plot, because Silent Hill plots are not something that is ever easy to describe. The plots are never easy to describe. The plot of a Silent Hill game is never easy to describe. Whatever version of that you would like me to use to get the proper to use proper English in there. Like, how do you follow along with that? Because again, like I had the same thing you do, where like you lived through 2 Resident Evil games and what those were, and especially Resident Evil 2 felt a lot more action-y by comparison to Resident Evil 1. You're like, okay, this is Konami trying to go after the Resident Evil side of things. Again, this is all stuff where like, this is pre-Fatal Frame and all that, where we find out, oh no, Japan's doing a lot more weird stuff over there. They just give us once in a while, they throw us a bone like this, and like, no, their response was like, no, we're going to make it weirder. And the plot was somewhere between like Rosemary's Baby and I don't even know what else to describe with it here. But like, what was your response to the plot at the time? Because I know I was just like, I'm just along for the ride. I don't know what's happening in this game. I'm just gonna roll with it, and I did not play it with anybody else at that point. This was a solo venture for me, so I didn't have anybody be like, what is happening here? I didn't have that. No.
Yeah, our experience was largely the same. Like, I think my stepfather kind of understood some of the darker undertones when it came to the story. Like, it's God, I'm gonna butcher all of this, I think, but it's like there's a cult out there, and they basically want to birth God, and to do that, they do it using a young girl as a vessel for God, and
You're killing
she's
it
like,
so far, just to be clear. Yes.
hell yeah, and then the girl's like, nah, I don't want to do this, and then she starts manifesting the creatures and things that you see in the town and stuff like that, and there's a couple little subplots here and there, but that's largely what it kind of boiled down to. But myself, when I was young playing this game for the first time, all of that was lost on me. All I knew is there was crazy people that had my daughter and I wanted to get her back, and maybe depending on how I did, maybe I got her back, maybe I didn't, because the game had multiple endings. We didn't know that either. Like, this is the age where we didn't have the internet for maybe a couple more months, and we're talking AOL dial-up.
Yeah, new AOL. Oh, sorry, Mom got a phone call. Never mind. I was going to look up what to do here, but I can't do that now.
Right. And so we couldn't figure out what the hell was going on with the story. So there's no way to like look it up and like try to figure it out with other people. I just pretended I knew what was going on. But that also kind of circles back to the puzzles in this game.
What's an Eldritch God?
But it was all lost on us. And even as we're going through this game, another thing that stopped us from really understanding what was going on in this game were the puzzles in this game. And I say that because some of these puzzles were so convoluted, we'd be stuck on them for several days. So then we would forget all the plot stuff that had happened. And by the time we figure out how to do the piano puzzle in the school, it's like, what the hell were we doing in the plot now? Oh, well, I guess we just go forward now. So that didn't help either.
The Brady Games empire was unstoppable. You had to spend another
God.
$20 to get a guide.
No kidding. But no, this is another reason why I chose this game too, because not only is it one that solidified my love for horror games, but my biggest badge of honor that I cannot prove to anybody other than my stepfather being my witness is we solved all of these puzzles with pen and paper and patience. And I'll never forget the end of the game. There's this puzzle where there's a bunch of zodiac symbols all over the room, and they've got numbers underneath them, and then like a keypad somewhere. And we're on this thing for 2 days. And I am not giving the solution on this podcast for those of you that haven't done this before. You're going to suffer like I did, or look it up. But I remember figuring out the solution, and like we literally jumped up and like hugged each other, like, "Oh my God, we figured it out." You can't replicate those moments anymore, boys and girls.
So I'm going to ask one final question on this, and this covers the totality of the series. What is the deal with them in UFOs? What is the deal with the Team Silent, or what is the deal with these people and UFOs? Like the 3 games all have multiple endings, but all of them have some weird UFO joke ending to them. Like what is the deal with that? Like I don't know, throw UFO ending in there. Give them that.
I'm convinced someone on Team Silent was or thinks they were abducted by aliens, and this is just a cry for help.
There were a lot of cries for help in this game, just to be clear, but yes.
Very, very true. But I will say, while the UFO joke endings were awesome to find, and they were perfectly executed and they were funny, nothing beats the dog ending in Silent Hill 2. If that does not resonate with anyone listening, go look it up. It's wonderful.
The UFO ending in that one stuck in my head.
That is a good one. The main character of the first game comes back in the second game's UFO ending, and it's like, oh, blast from the past. And now I'm being abducted by aliens.
Non-canonically, of course.
We think.
Yeah, true.
It's the actual true ending.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the UFO endings are the real endings. Oh man, that I looked at this all the wrong way.
My only thing with Silent Hill is that your character moves at an uncomfortably fast pace. Like I just feel like Resident Evil, like it moves at a speed that you feel like is a horror game or horror movie speed. Silent Hill, you're sprinting at this weird pace that when something pops up in the light, you have no chance of reacting to that thing that's going to pop up in the light.
Yeah, no, that's a good call out.
It just adds to it. Like it just adds to the complete uncomfortableness that you're supposed to feel when you're playing it.
Yeah, no, that's a great call out. I can't count how many times that happened to my stepdad and I, where we just kind of settled into what this character's movement's going to be, and it ended up like adding to the whole horror experience and just being uncomfortable. I mean, again, I'll go back to I love tank controls, but this was made in such a way that just made the whole thing just feel Yeah, like we were in like a skin suit or something, just very uncomfortable, but it worked.
Now, speaking of uncomfortable, which came first, an unease of a foggy, low visibility morning, or Silent Hill for you? Which one caused which?
Say that question one more time. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I phrased it very poorly, so that's okay. And I'm going to leave this in just to make myself cringe and suffer as I have to listen to it again.
Oh, man.
Which came first for you? Walking outside in the morning on a densely fogged morning and feeling uncomfortable? Was that feeling before or after Silent Hill? Like you walked out and you're 10 years old, like, oh, look, it's a foggy morning. Isn't that funny? Or did the hair stand up on the back of your neck then? Or was it not until after Silent Hill that started to happen?
Silent Hill simultaneously ruined and elevated fog for me. Like before, when I would go out in the fog, it's exactly like that. It was like something whimsical about it, something magical. You can't see much. You look at the ground and the grass is kind of poking through. Like it's kind of majestic in that sense. But now, after going through Silent Hill, I'm just convinced that there's either A, monsters, or B, demons, or C, some apparition that I can't quite see in the fog. But then it becomes fascinating again, because how many times do you see fog, like when you're driving or you look out your window and you immediately think of Silent Hill? And this is just life now.
Oh, it made the hair stand up on the back of my neck yesterday morning when I took the dog out. And I know it's purely because of, I just like, oh, it's got the Silent Hill vibes this morning. And the game broke me forever for being able to walk outside and have a foggy morning and not be like, now I got to look out of the corner of my eye. Again, not expecting someone trying to bring about the rebirth of an eldritch old god or anything along those lines, but just because it just makes me uneasy now. And it's no longer got that magical, and I blame Silent Hill for that.
You just need to make sure that when you go into a foggy area, you have a pocket radio with you. And if it makes static, then you should be nervous. If you hear silence, you're okay, in theory.
Well, let's go to a game that forever changed my relationship to materia and how I feel when I don't know. I can't transition this effectively. I didn't have too much, right? I don't want to talk about that. But I don't have as smooth a transition as I did as that reintegration with your stepfather's time. But we're just going to go ahead and Final Fantasy VII, the PlayStation rules. You're 3. And like Absolutely. You said, I get this is really where things changed for you. And I guess that's the transition point. I'm going to ignore all this. I'm going to leave it in anyway, just to make myself suffer. But to round out your 3, you're going to continue with another totemic PlayStation game in Final Fantasy VII. That sounded much cleaner and much more professional, as opposed to the stupidity I've been spouting off for the last 50 seconds. Whatever. Final Fantasy VII, you do your thing. I gotta, I don't know.
It sounded very professional to me, sir. It was wonderful.
That 13 seconds where I had something click sounded good. The rest of it was terrible, but go on.
So yeah, my 3, the first 2 were survival horror games, and now we're talking about one of the most iconic role-playing games ever. So Final Fantasy VII was another game that quite literally changed my life in a lot of ways. And it opened me up to a new type of game. Like, I knew what an RPG was. I'm sure I've played one or two. Well, actually, I played Super Mario RPG. There you go. On the Super Nintendo beforehand. So I kind of knew what the genre was. But this is another game that I have my stepdad to thank, but in kind of a different way. So he found out, I think through one of his usual coworker friends, that Final Fantasy VII was supposedly just going to be this banger of a video game. Like, we didn't subscribe to any gaming magazines or anything like that. So somehow I was...
The word was on the streets.
That's exactly what it was. I had no inkling about... I had no idea what this game was, the significance of it, that it came from Japan, nothing.
What happened to Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6? I don't understand. I had Super Nintendo. There was a 3. Where's 4, 5, and 6? Okay, none of that. Okay.
All the numbers, like all of it. I was sheltered from all of it, right? And he comes home with this game, and he rented it, and same idea is like, hey, I heard this game was great. So he sits down and he loads up, and I'm already enamored by the fact that this is like a 3-disc PlayStation game. Like he brings this chunky...
It's the double jewel case. It's the 2-banger. Yeah.
Oh man. I held that thing in my hands for like way longer than I should have, just admiring this thing. But he starts to play the game, and those that have played Final Fantasy VII will never forget that iconic opening where Cloud Strife jumps off the train and gets into that very first fight. Like, this whole thing is like futuristic, steampunk. I am already glued to this thing. But I will never forget my stepdad getting into that very first battle with Cloud and two Shinra soldiers. And he's just hitting his circle button trying to figure out why Cloud isn't swinging his sword. He's like, why can't I attack? And he gets hit again, and then finally his command prompt comes up. He hits attack. He takes a swipe and takes an enemy out. He goes, okay, all right, that's cool. Keeps hitting the button. Why the hell can't I attack? And I try to explain to him, just looking at the bars on the screen. I'm like, you got to wait for that bar to fill up. I noticed when it was full, you could take your action. He I don't want to say whips, but he gingerly tossed the controller in my lap and say, you can play this stupid game, and walks away. Because he at this point, he's into racing games, he's into sports games, the survival horror games, things that you can do in the moment. The idea of a turn-based RPG was just completely, not only was it lost on him, it offended him greatly. So I obviously took the controller, and from that point on, I was just hooked on this game. I ended up playing it until you get to the city of Coral, I think it is, Barrett's hometown. I played it like nonstop for those 2 days that we had rented it, and then finally he had to take the game back to the video store. And like, I've never been addicted to a substance that I'm aware of, but I was like dreaming of that game. Like, I needed it into my veins, to a point where this was the very first video game that I bought with my own money. It's the first game that made me get a job, which was a paper route of all things, back when delivering newspapers was like the thing to do. I saved my allowance every week. My parents would go to a bowling league. They'd give me $5 every night to go play the arcade games. I said no. I'm just going to pocket that money and just sit in the corner for 3 hours.
They call that raw dogging it now. You just kind of sit and stare at you sit and stare at the back of a chair, and that's it. That was just how we lived back then, people. Okay.
Exactly. And
I'm sorry, you had to take 1 2-hour flight where you didn't have your phone. Sorry. Now it's a TikTok. Great.
Yeah, no kidding. We pioneered that kind of stuff back then, but it was
that was
worth
Tuesday night for us.
Exactly. But it was all worth it. Just sitting back and watching my parents bowl, instead of playing games like Area 51 in the arcade that they had, which was, I love that game. But
I can smell the nicotine in the bowling alley you were at. I can feel it.
Bubblegum and nicotine, man. That's all it was about. But eventually I saved up my money, and $60 in bills and coins in a Ziploc bag. I went to whatever store it was, and I just dropped it on the counter, and I had Final Fantasy VII all to myself, and it was the greatest moment of my life. So on one hand, it's a fantastic RPG that I'll never forget playing, because I played it through multiple times, but it really meant something to me because it was the first time that I really earned the thing that I was enjoying. So it was very special to me, and it was all because my stepdad did not have the patience to appreciate a JRPG.
He couldn't make it through the tutorial battle to open the game up.
Nope, wasn't happening. Like, it was just, I'll never forget the look on his face, and I'm just like, how can you not love this? I don't get it. This does not compute. But that's what got me on the path, man. And eventually I saved up a little bit more money with my paper route. I bought the I think it's a Brady game strategy guide for, I got it over there somewhere. So I played through the game again. I unlocked all the secrets, the gold chocobo, the Knights of the Round summon, maxed out my characters to 99, used the item duplication glitch to get extra items and stuff. Like, I just played the crap out of this game, and it very much became a part of my life. And I am a Final Fantasy VII fanboy. Any Final Fantasy property they put out, I will get. Mobile battle royale games, mobile gacha games. It doesn't matter. I love this series, and I make no apologies for it.
Advent Children, you were there first in line. Is that?
I was. Like, man, Advent Children was its own experience, just because at that point it's like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think at any point in Final Fantasy's history up to that point that they do sequel anything, game, literature, anything like that I know of.
Not that we know. I think 4, I don't know when 4 had some kind of sequel that came out. I don't know at what point in time that was, but
oh yeah.
But again, like, it's only something I learned about recently while I was trying to clean up some library. I'm like, wait, what do you mean they're Final Fantasy 4 the after years or something like that? And I didn't even register when that happened, but like, no, Final Fantasy 7's when they broke. And not only was it the 7th Final Fantasy was its own contradiction, but like, now we're prequeling, sequeling. Forget Final Fantasy X2 that came eventually. No, this is its own media franchise under a comically named media franchise.
Oh, big time. And I didn't really appreciate it at the time, but Final Fantasy VII really helped the PlayStation as a console too. Like it drove a lot of awareness for it, and it drove a lot of awareness for just the JRPG in general. Again, I didn't appreciate it as a kid, but like looking back, it's like you can make arguments that there are better Final Fantasies out there, and I will certainly concede to those arguments because Final Fantasy VII, it's got its issues. I wish the characters were a little bit more developed in the game. I wish some of the mechanics were a little bit different, but it's still a great game, however you look at it. But still, it's part of me. It is like literally part of me. I have a Buster Sword tattoo on my arm here.
Ray, that's the never mind. Never mind. We just ignore him. We'll come back. That's going to come up later. I promise that will come up later in this podcast at another time. But I was going to ask first of all, so since you're bringing up like what else is in the Final Fantasy? Did any other Final Fantasies catch your eye over the years? Or like you're saying there are better ones, and like okay, there's arguments to be made for some. Like what other Final Fantasies have caught your attention? I wonder.
Yeah, it's hard to say what I feel is better than this one. I think it depends on really my mood and what it is that I'm looking for out of a game. Like there's arguments that Final Fantasy 6 or 3 on the Super Nintendo.
3 or 6, yeah. Whatever. The one they gave us is 3 that is 6, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I still have not played that game all the way through, so I can't really articulate my feelings on that per se, but going
says enough if you couldn't get through it. It is narratively a great game.
Yes.
If it was not for you, so be it.
Yeah, that's how it is. I do want to go back and finish it. Like I've got the Pixel remaster set on the PlayStation. Like
beautifully done too. Yeah.
Oh, wonderfully. So I will be going back, but yeah, it didn't stick with me long enough to finish it. So yeah, that's an argument there. But I ended up transitioning from 7 to 8 immediately after that. And that was the classic, well, if 7's great, 8's got to be one hell of a game too. And I haven't played 8 since I was a kid, so I'm dying to replay it again, but I really enjoyed 8 for what it was. I know the junction system where you junction magic to your core stats is a little confusing, and it can be a little convoluted based on how you want to spec your character out, and enemies level up like you do. I never really cared for that kind of thing. I want to earn my high level and be able to smack people around at my leisure, but I liked Final Fantasy VIII for what it was. That's the real
hipster pick right there, is to say 8. But yeah.
Well, it's funny. I knew 9 existed. I knew how amazing it was just based on feedback that I'd gotten from my friends at school and stuff like that. But I don't know what
from your stepdad though. Yeah.
No, his feedback would have either been non-existent or an angry grunt. But no, I don't know what it was, but I just never played 9 when I was younger. Like, it's not that I never wanted to. It's just the cards never aligned. I never got my hands on it, and I just kind of left it behind. It wasn't until last year that I actually played the game through start to finish for the very first time. And it was that classic, where has this game been all my life? Like, I would almost argue that Final Fantasy 9 is a better game than Final Fantasy 7 in some aspects. But it was...
This guy gets it.
9 made me feel things that I have not felt in a very long time. Like when a video game makes you just feel emotionally vested in its characters, and you really want to see this game to its conclusion, and you're vested in the battle system and how you level up abilities and stuff like that. Like I am ashamed to admit that it took me that long to play that game. But yeah, eventually 7 led me to 8. Which led me to some other ones, but then I finally made it back to 9.
Hey, listen, I appreciate it. I'm here for that discussion. Now, I have to backtrack this, and I have one last question I want to ask about Final Fantasy VII, because you brought up an interesting thing where you rented games, and this is probably different from your Super Nintendo days, because if you rented a Super Nintendo game at whatever rental place you went to, you better pray to the high heavens you get that same cartridge back, because otherwise, if you rented Mario RPG, your game is locked on that cartridge, and they may have had 3 copies of Mario RPG if you were lucky, if you were able to get it back, and maybe somebody deleted it, maybe they didn't. You now had a memory card, presumably, unless you were just playing like an insane person, never shutting it off and just like grinding through to get to Barrett's Town. But so I have a question. I don't know what amount of time it took to transpire. I know I was a 12-year-old debt collector for the newspapers as well, that they thought a 12-year-old going collecting money from adults as part of the newspaper route was a brilliant idea in Philadelphia, but that's a story for another day. I don't know what amount of time transpired between you having your hiatus to play this and save up your arcade quarters to get the game, but like, did you just run right back into your save file, or did you start over again?
Honestly, I started over again, just from scratch,
Just to relive
and
it.
just to relive it. Exactly. And it was mostly just because I was learning the game, and I look back on some of the decisions I made, and I I didn't appreciate the good that the random battle really has in a game like that when it comes to leveling up and gaining experience and stuff like that. Because my very first RPG was Super Mario RPG, and I don't know how I finished that game, but like, to me, I avoided every battle I could just because I thought that's what you were supposed to do, because all the enemies are in the field, you know what I mean?
That's because
So,
Bowser's in the juice when you get him. He's on the sauce when you get him. He's
oh
juicing,
man.
so
So
that
I
helps.
didn't, oh, big time. But yeah, I played it all over again because I wanted to re-experience it and I wanted to do things slightly differently. For what it's worth too, the materia system is great in that you can kind of spec out your characters how you want based on the spells you give them and the different abilities and what have you. So I spec my characters a little differently too. I made Cloud a little bit more balanced instead of my strength wielding meat stick knife, whatever the hell he had. You know what I mean? Like, it was fun going back and reliving it. I will say, my stepdad was smart enough to know right from the get-go when we got a PlayStation that a memory card was required for that thing. So I don't have any of those cool stories where I had to keep the machine on the whole time. Like, we had a memory card to start with. We were spoiled.
And then we move on. We're heading to the honorable mentions now, and we're staying with the PlayStation. I mean, there's a theme here.
I just want to be clear. This next
Until
game
it-
caused me
until it-
physical pain. Not to also give that to my. I had enough talking for me, but the next one's a beauty.
I was gonna say, Dan, you've actually written a review.
I
this
love
game.
I love this game, but go on.
I'm not gonna pretend that I know these games. A PlayStation. Well, I just didn't have a PlayStation. So like, when I read or do these games, I'm learning. I'm learning about all these games here. We got Parasite Eve.
Parasite Eve. This was either developed by or published by, or both, then Squaresoft, now
That's
Square
right.
Enix. Yep. And this is another one where I've got the memory of a goldfish, really, but I just remember. This is when we started getting gaming magazines and stuff, and I saw this game being advertised, and Squaresoft was all over this thing. So it's like, I know this is going to be a good game. And they even advertised it as they called it the quote unquote cinematic RPG, in that a lot of the in-game cinematics were then state of the art looking, very well done and all that. But I didn't really know what this game was, and I didn't know what I was getting into. But Parasite Eve will always be one of my favorite games just because of how unique it is in both story and gameplay. For those that haven't played it before, it's an RPG of sorts. Your main character, Ayabrea, uses actual weapons, firearms, guns, and maybe a billy club if you're feeling feisty. And I showed this to my stepdad because I thought maybe he'd like this better than Final Fantasy VII's active time battle system, because you can move your character around in real time while the battle's going on, although you still had to wait your turn to fire your gun, though. And when you do fire your weapon, this big green wire mesh kind of dome comes out to tell you what your effective range is for your weapon. Like, that battle system just was crack to me. Like, I loved getting into fights. The story, I know more about the story now as an adult than I did as a kid, because it's very, very based in science and a lot of, like, it's not all factual, but it is a lot of science talk.
It was better use of mitochondria than Star Wars Episode 1. Sorry, no, sorry. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
I saw your lip twitching, and it's like, Dan's got something to say about this.
So powerful that it lights people on fire.
Spontaneously combust.
This is the antagonist's main attack. Make people spontaneously combust.
There's something about the opera too. You had what's it called? Luc Besson's Bruce Willis space movie, The Fifth Element in this.
Fifth Element.
With the opera singers of the, like, there's something about the opera in the 90s that had real energy to it.
It did, and it's funny you bring up that opening. It's Parasite Eve's opening. If I were to put together a top 10 list of my favorite game openings, this would be on my list somewhere, because the game starts off at 0 miles per hour. You're getting introduced to the characters, and then you're at an opera. You go sit down and watch this opera, and the opera music itself is actually really well done, and you can kind of get into it for what it is. And then all of a sudden, everyone around you is on fire. This game goes from 0 to 120 miles an hour in the span of 3 minutes. And now you're chasing a creature down into the sewers underneath the theater that you're in. And it's like, I was hooked from the word go. Like, this really, really stuck with me. It's to a point where I'll play Parasite Eve maybe once a year now, just to go through it and play through it, always from scratch. It's a wonderful game.
So where does this fall in your whole, you talk about the movement and the way you like movement, because this one moves a little more freely, kind of like Silent Hill, but then the sequel, just Parasite Eve 2, goes back to tank movement, kind of like the Resident Evil that you enjoy. So where does this fall for you in the whole movement aspect?
Yeah, it's funny you bring up 2. When it comes to Parasite Eve 2, my assumption with it is they wanted to cash in on the Resident Evil train, really. So that's a lot of why that game was the way it was. But going back to the first one, I liked the movement in this game. It was, I'm probably using too big a word here. Omnidirectional is what comes to mind. Like, you can move your character in all 8 directions with your D-pad, and you didn't have any limitations in that way. And it was nice, and I liked it, and it fit the game for what it was. All I remember about the first game, though, is the main character, even when she was running, was so agonizingly slow. And I mean, I love that I can move in all 8 directions, but it's like, I'm just going to hold down my circle and my directional button while I make a sandwich, and I'll be done with the sandwich by the time she gets where she's got to go. Like, that was tough to get around. But I like the movement in the first one. The second one, it's tank controls. I don't know what to say about that other than it just fit like a glove for me anyway.
And so, I mean, PlayStation, they really had this idea forever that says, if you want a game on our system, it has to be a story, right? It's like, it's almost like you're playing a game to get from cutscene to cutscene, and just you're watching this movie as you're playing it, and PlayStation just kind of does that. I mean, this game is a sequel to a book, which is something I've never heard of before. I never heard of someone taking a book and saying, you know what, we should make a video game to tell you what happens next.
Oh, absolutely. And I didn't realize this was based off a book until recently, but it was Parasite Eve, written by a gentleman named Hideki Senna, and it's a direct continuation of that, which is amazing to me. I think Sony lost the rights to that book by the time they came around to making the third Parasite Eve game called The Third Birthday,
which has nothing to do with the first 2.
Yep, that's its own travesty, which will be for another day. But yeah, and if nothing else, it's awesome, Ray, that you bring up the idea of these stories, these narrative-based adventures, because what I think Parasite Eve does well, and some of the other older PlayStation games too, is if they can find a way, developers, to be able to marry not just great story but also gameplay that kind of integrates with that, and they're kind of married to each other and they have a nice balance, those are the games that really stick with people over time. Like, fast forward to a more modern sort of game, the original Last of Us on the PlayStation, right? That is the perfect marriage of gameplay, story, exploration. Like, it's just even across the board. And Sony was chasing that particular mentality back in the late 90s. And I kind of applaud them for it, because a lot of these games I don't think I would have touched if they didn't have some of that element to it, because that's what I wanted out of games at this point.
It almost feels like even going further to now that you can still get big games with stories, but it feels like indie developers
Mhm.
have really honed in and said, if I can just if I can write a good story and put some pretty gameplay around it, like, people are really gonna kind of lock in on it. It feels
Absolutely.
like, right. That's what feels like what the indie developers today are really looking at.
Yeah, and it doesn't even need to be anything profound
No.
or any sort of philosophical, not just give me a good story that I can either relate to or insert myself in. It's not rocket science.
Mhm. You so did you get into I think this is a crazy, maybe it wasn't a crazy idea in 1998. In this case, there was a new game plus. It was EX, right? New game X with an extra building and an extra story attached to it. Did you get into all that?
Oh yeah, way more than I probably should have. So the new game plus of Parasite Eve, you can take your equipment with you, or at least one weapon and one piece of armor through the game again. But then you have access to the Chrysler Building in New
Hmm.
York, and it is I think it's randomized. I could be wrong.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I think it's 77 floors, and you have to literally go from floor 1 to floor 77, and every floor is basically a maze of sorts, and you
Hmm.
have to find your way to get to the end. But what made this more challenging was the idea that there was no way you can save your game when you start the first floor and then you get to like the 10th floor. Every 10 floors you're on an island, and at the end of that 10th floor in those pockets or whatever, you've got a bigger boss enemy. Some of them are kind of reskins of bosses you fought in the game before. I think there's one or two unique bosses that are only in this building, and it's like, if you die, you got to do all 10 of those floors all over again. Like, this whole experience was brutal. But I want to. I don't know how many people know this. I have one cool thing about Parasite Eve that makes this game so much easier, and I exploit the crap out of it every time. When you level up your character, the leveling system and the way you level up is so well balanced that when you get to like your max level, max is in like you're at the end of the game at like level 36, you're pretty well to do, but the game's still a healthy challenge. I believe it's level 37 or 38, where normally when you level up, you need just a little bit more experience every single time to get to the next level. After like 37 or 38, the value to get to the next level just goes down to something so minuscule like 100 experience points. And you can push yourself through to a level 99 after you hit this insane wall. Like, the hard part about random encounters in this game is they're not quite random, and the percentage of encounter will actually go down the more it happens. So like, you have to run in circles for like hours to finally grind, but once you get over this hump, you can push your character to like level 99, and it makes things so much easier. So anyone looking to do the Parasite Eve Chrysler Building run, you're welcome. Just keep doing it.
I, and let's keep going with PlayStation. Unless Dan, you got something to say here
No,
before we move on.
I want to find this game again somewhere someday, or like some way for me to be able to play it, because I think I mentioned in my review, I traumatized myself with it by screwing up my overpowered gun. And the mechanic in the game is, you customize your weapon, you add elements to it and things like this, and I screwed up. I added a poison cloud to my overpowered gun, and somehow it rendered it useless.
Ooh.
And I didn't have an extra save file to go back to. You only had one save file, and I was toast. So I never finished the game. And I was far along in the game.
Oh man, here's
And I need to go back. I want to. I loved that game. I loved I loved the turn-based RPG. I loved you're in modern New York. I loved everything about the vibe and all of it. Until I added, I don't even remember what I did. It was like a poison grenade I added to my gun, and it jacked the thing up. And I went from doing like mega damage all the time to like doing 20 damage and couldn't do anything.
Yeah, here's my bit of advice, and then we'll move on to the next one. When you're playing, just focus on raw damage and don't put any of the elements in there. Like, some of them got their benefits, but if you've got an enemy that's resistant, that's when you're going to nerf yourself.
Would have been great to know 25 years ago. Yeah.
I know. Well, don't worry. I was in the same boat. I figured out the same way you did by making a change, and it's just like, what have I done? But another bit of advice too, you're able to put like how many times you can shoot your weapon per turn. Keep that number as low as possible. It does two things. One, it keeps the damage maximized within the amount of shots that you have. So like if you shoot 9 times, it does the same amount of damage over 9 shots. Whereas if you only shoot twice, it's still the same amount of damage just in 2 bullets. And then you're only shooting once or twice, so you're not standing in place while she's plunking off shots. You're more mobile that way. Stick to that strategy, Dan. You will make it, I promise.
You can do it. Oh, we're continuing. PlayStation. Again, Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, there's a kind of a theme here. I don't know if we've noticed. So Metal Gear Solid, the original Metal Gear Solid on the original PlayStation. Now we're back to my stepdad and I. Him and I, we were so knee deep in this game too. Same idea. It's got a wonderful story. It's got a wonderful experience to go along with it. So him and I were just like knee deep in this thing. I mean, it was like watching an honest to God movie at this point. Like Resident Evil had some voice acting, Silent Hill had its voice acting, but now we are like in like the upper echelon of voice acting and storytelling. I mean,
it had opening credits.
It had credits.
Right. Like the whole thing was, my mom actually came down when we started playing this, and she sat down not knowing we were playing a video game, thinking we're watching a movie. Oh, what's on the television? Like a video game, Ma. And then she stood up and walked away. But it was that immersive, and it was so immersive that, I mean, we can go on about Metal Gear Solid all day, but 2 of my favorite memories with this game I'll spout off real quick with my stepdad were how this game likes to break the fourth wall and just kind of screw with you in some ways. Example number 1, you have to find this woman that's on the base that you're on, and her name is Meryl. And the only way you can get a hold of her is you have to dial her radio frequency. And you hear in this really well done cutscene that, oh, her frequency is on the back of the CD case. And okay, that's it. You have control of Snake again. And my stepdad and I are like, what CD case is he talking about? We're looking around in game. We have items on us, and there's actually a point where we have this floppy disk on us on our character, and we're like looking at it in the item view. Like I'm literally, my eyes are up against the TV, going, "Is there numbers on this thing? Like, what the hell are they talking about?"
Trying to unscramble the CRT lines and
all of it. Like it made no sense to us, and it wasn't until dinner was cold at this point. Mom was not happy, but my stepdad went upstairs to eat dinner, and I was thumbing through all the radio sequences one by one to try to finally figure it out, and I found it, and we progressed the game. It wasn't until the next day I had the game CD case, the physical CD case in my hand, and I looked at the back, and I saw her radio frequency on the back, and I ran upstairs. I found it! Like, who does that? Who does that? And speaking of who does that, everyone that has either played this game or at least heard of this game, I assume, knows about the iconic Psycho Mantis boss fight. The boss fight that quite literally reached out and touched us in our living room. The psychic soldier is going to demonstrate his powers to us and has us put our controller on the floor. And my stepdad has the controller in his hand at this point. He's the one playing, and like he looks at me like, is he serious? And then, of course, the character Psycho Mantis goes, "Put your controller on the floor as flat as you can. That's good." So my stepdad's like, "Oh, he's talking to me." He puts it on the coffee table, and he says, "I'm going to move your controller with the power of my will alone." And the system uses the vibration feature of the controller to move the controller across our dining room table, and it was like being touched by the hand of God. It was just an out-of-body experience that I will never forget. That is Metal Gear Solid, and those are some of the coolest memories I have with it with my stepdad. Ha!
And in much less cool fashion, the game tells you to use the bathroom once in a while to make sure it tells you, hey, make sure you like take a break and don't just play all the time, or don't play while tired.
It was very good about not just breaking the wall, but I feel like when it broke the wall, it always had your best intentions in mind. Because I remember those, like, make sure you take a break every once in a while. You don't want to have a long gaming session make you tired when the enemy's around. It's like, do I go to sleep in game? Like, are you talking to me? Like,
So good.
No
it
one
was
asked your opinion, Kojima. I'm fine.
right. We could do it. We could do this all night. It's no big deal. Totally fine.
Go hang out more with Jordan Peele. Leave me alone. I'm fine.
Oh man, but great game. Great game.
You know, the PlayStation. I just think of this era with the PlayStation as video game companies, or Sony at least, just experimenting. It's like, what can we do with this new, like, powerful system of the time? What can we get away with? And it's like, you have Metal Gear, which is now in 3D. You have like 3D graphics and this movie, but it gives you this still like overhead camera a lot of times, almost holding on to that 2D kind of world that they were used to. And you could tell, say, we have this new technology, but we're trying to figure out the right ideas to use with it, because we're still kind of holding on to what we know. And that's the memory I have with games at that time. It's kind of like, we've got new stuff, but we got to hold on to these old ideas. We just don't know how to use like these ideas to the best of their abilities yet.
We're a month and a half away from seeing whatever Kojima is going to try and break our brains with in Death Stranding 2. So God help us all with him having full control of the PlayStation 5 and whatever the PC version will be, and all that.
It's going to be great, I think.
And and now let's so we did PlayStation, and then we did a PlayStation game, and then we did a PlayStation game, and then we did a PlayStation game, and then we did a PlayStation game. So
this is a callback, Ray. He mentioned that he owned the system.
He did.
He mentioned the beginning.
So obviously,
it was planted.
Obviously, the last game we're going to talk about here is Star Fox.
Yeah,
we're talking about like Super Nintendo Star Fox, right? Because it says Star Fox.
Star Fox, Super Nintendo Star Fox.
It does not say Star Fox 64. It says Star Fox.
Correct. OG Star Fox, the FX chip, the polygonal 3D borderline maybe masterpiece of the Super Nintendo. Okay, maybe not quite, but you know what I'm driving at. But when I was thinking of my honorable mentions, I wanted to keep a theme of just games that mean something to me and kind of helped escalate my gamerhood, gamer card, whatever. You get where we'll go for. But Star Fox came to my mind because even though this kind of predates all the games we just talked about, this was what I consider to be my first quote unquote adult Super Nintendo game. Like, I say adult as in like, I don't know. When I think of games back then on the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, it's like Super Mario and games like that, Ice Climbers, and not saying they're games for kids really, but they were games that were just for game's sake. But every once in a while, I would come across a game that just felt like it was grown up to me, something a little bit more advanced, something a little different. And Star Fox, a rail shooter, just hit all the right notes for me. And it didn't help that at the time and still today, my favorite movie, Top Gun, was very ever present in my mind. So being able to
flashes, just to be clear, he flashed the old school VHS.
The VHS ready.
The industry changing VHS at us. Yes.
Absolutely. So like flying movies like this and just fighter jets and stuff in general. Granted, Star Fox is more sci-fi and you're in space and stuff like that, but just it came at a perfect time for me being able to play games like this. And I really, really enjoyed the game for what it was. Although it kind of aged like milk, I think, like going back and playing it now, like I don't own it physically, but I have it I've got a Super Nintendo Classic, the small system. It's got a bunch of games preloaded. And even on a game like that, and even I have maybe partaken this game in some other ways, but the frame rate in this game is just awful.
It's tough.
Yeah, and that never bothered me when I was a kid, though. Like I still kind of toughed through it, and it made that experience that much more unique for me. Although I only played on like the easiest route of that game. There's like an easy, middle of the road, and then really hard. I never played the other ones. I played the other ones and died immediately, but all I did was just replay the easy route for hours and hours and hours, and it was still enough to get my attention.
Well, it's funny, calling this game what is it, a rail shooter? Because I never think of it as a rail shooter. When I think of a rail shooter, I'm top down and I can move kind of up and down, left, right, or I'm looking from the side and it goes up and down and shooting here. But this same thing, we're behind the airplane now in this 3D as 3D as 16-bit graphics can be on the Super Nintendo. But it is a rail shooter. You're just moving in four directions and shooting the stuff that comes towards you.
Maybe you speed up, maybe you slow down, but
yeah,
I mean, but even still, I still felt like, and I still feel like that I've got some semblance of a freedom of movement. I mean,
absolutely.
so it was a simple design choice, but it was still very well executed. And they definitely did. Speaking of Star Fox 64, they expanded upon that and really brought that to fruition and really expanded on some ideas there. The all range mode where you can kind of just fly wherever you want in the specific space or whatever. So like, yeah, this is one of those IPs that I would love Nintendo to go back to the original rail shooter ish roots on. Like,
Absolutely.
I don't need Star Fox Assault or Command or any of that stuff. Just put me back in an R-Wing and just let me shoot stuff.
Absolutely, 100%.
Listen, the disrespect to the Super FX chip in this frame rate talk really has to be. I'm just kidding. No it's like half the stuff they throw at us now when they put a new console generation out about like whatever frizzle rates do. That like I don't know what the Super FX chip did. Whatever.
Let me tell you, I was watching
either, but okay.
I was watching some gameplay before getting on this. And I forgot how it just slows down on you. And it's not generating a whole lot at once. It's kind of got that Silent Hill thing where it's like we're just going to give you kind of what's right there, and we'll keep manifesting it as you get quote unquote closer. But it slows down on you.
Can I ask a question? I have not cracked this on the Super Nintendo Mini. But Star Fox 2 is on there. Have you played that? Is it similar? Is it different?
I actually have not, and it's something I've been meaning to do. I don't think it's that similar. Oh, well, I think it's similar-ish, but what is it? From what I remember, like you're going out to different planets in space, and you can actually kind of revisit those planets because the Andros, the main enemy's forces, are coming to Corneria, and you kind of got to head them off at the pass. So there's some semblance of freedom of movement and going to different stages or what have you. But yeah, and I haven't played it yet. And to be honest, some of the screenshots that I've seen and some of the videos make it look like it runs even worse than the original Star Fox. But that could just be that could just be me.
That's what I was wondering. I never bothered. Like usually they iterate and improve. I'm kind of wondering, but they never bothered to release it over here. They had time. I don't know.
It's on the Switch too. You can play it.
Yeah, it is funny you say that because like I always got the impression that it's just like, yeah, because we never released this, it was never fit for consumption. But here we have this like on the floor over here. If you want to take a try at it, here it is. We released it for you. Hooray! So.
Every time I felt the same way. They were like, "You just tossed this at me." I was like, "You know what? No. You didn't think it was that good. I you know what? I'm going to trust you on that. I'm not going to try it either."
Yeah.
Well, we're going to jump into the future now, but also into the past. And time is timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, because we're going to go talk about Terminator 2D, No Fate, which yeah, you know what? Listen, I had to really.
That was a good one.
You know what? If I hadn't, I realized I would have had a better transition if I hadn't derailed my prep with a Silent Hill 3, Silent Hill 1 thing. I could have rolled through that better. I really needed to pick it up here, and that was it. Because and I say this not only because of the time travel elements of the Terminator franchise and some of the elements throughout there, but because we're looking at this. New metal, like NU 16-bit animation here in this game. It's called Terminator 2D, not by accident, but much like the Halloween and Evil Dead games Retro Ware did last year, we're getting that like upgraded, higher frame rate, 16-bit plus animation here, but we're going to the Terminator franchise.
Oh, big time. I am a huge fan of the original two movies, and when I found out that this game was coming out, it's one that I definitely wanted to talk about. There's a lot of cool games coming out, but I don't know how many people are aware of this one, so it's my public service announcement for more or less. But this game, Terminator 2: No Fate, is a side-scrolling run and gun shooter for the most part. Is developed by a company called Reef Entertainment, and this game is coming out on September 5th, 2025. My best understanding with this game, or what this game is about, is you're playing through the events of the first movie and the second movie, as well as taking on some events during the future war when Skynet has taken over and the human resistance is trying to survive, kind of thing. It's kind of a macabre of all three of those ideas. The pixel art looks fantastic. The music looks wonderful, and what sealed the deal for me in terms of getting this game was quite recently, and I've advertised this on Channel 3 a few times now. I got my hands on a game called Terminator Resistance, which is a first-person Terminator game set in the future after Skynet bombs the world. And it's made by the same people at Reef Entertainment. And what really stuck out to me more than anything, more than the gameplay, more than the experience, was the love that this development team put into this game in terms of keeping the franchise whole, staying with the source material, and just reaching deep and pulling out a lot of that nostalgia. I know Terminator 2D No Fate is going to be a fantastic game because of that. It's going to be a great run and gun shooter, but if you're at all a Terminator fan, it looks wonderful, and I have a lot of faith in this development team. So I think this is really going to be good, and I am looking forward to it, to a point where I went to Reef Entertainment's website where you can buy the games from them directly, and I already have this thing pre-ordered. It's just a matter of waiting.
Two things I have to call out. I can't wait for the Naked Arnold bar fight when he arrives in the present. That's just that the animation on that one's just gold. Well placed shadows on the Arnold the Arnold 16-bit sprayed on that one.
Oh yeah, big time.
And listen, this one ties back because there's a company called Bitmap Bureau developing this one too with Reef, and you had Battle Axe in there. You've had some experience with them as well too, and some of their craft. So I think this is setting up nicely, I think, for you.
I think so too. They've all got a pretty decent pedigree all the way around, and what always sticks with me, Bitmap Bureau, Reef Entertainment, it's the passion that they put into their projects that's very evident when you check out one of their games, whether it's the artwork, the story combination, or whatever it may be. I love playing video games that are made by passionate people, and I think this is going to be right up our alley.
Yeah, the only thing I have to correct that you misspoke on, you said something about the original two Terminator movies. There were only two Terminator movies, so I don't know.
Oh, you're right. I did
know what you're referring to.
Please accept my
apologies. There was a weird choice of words. I just wanted to correct that for you there. And I apologize. I normally try not to correct the guests and all that, but
it's okay. Everybody gets one. I'll take that one.
Sorry. Anyway, okay. Well, let's move on to a quest. We take a question from the Channel 3 history books that we pick for you to discuss, and unlike you letting us know the games in advance, we don't tell you what the question we're going to ask is. We're going to pull a recent one here and ask you, what's a popular franchise that you haven't played that you want to try?
Ooh, I love not knowing what's going into the question, because now I'm on the spot here. It's easy.
He's got his non-podcast voice coming back out again.
Oh my God!
The golden pipes aren't prepped anymore. We got him off guard. That was a really great. Like the good thing too is you always get to have an idea of the public speaking abilities of the guest as well, because you were doing a great job of stalling so your brain could think about it at the same time, but not making it seem like that. You were really rephrasing the question, just having a little fun about it so you could try to remember what your answer was. And that was a really great touch. Well played by you.
Told you, professional.
It's a gift and a curse. I don't know what to say. so
you got the podcast voice back. We're all good.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. So a game franchise that I want to get into that I have not gotten into.
You're at least willing to try it.
Yeah. I've mentioned it, I think, in passing on another quest on Channel 3, but for me, it's Kingdom Hearts. And the reason why I've not done anything with Kingdom Hearts is, let's see here. I think there's no fewer than 19 games in this series. That might be an exaggeration. It might not be.
No, I can't remember if it's 12 or 19. It's more than a dozen though at this point.
Don't let the haters scare you away.
Well, that's the thing. I certainly not.
There's the 13 organization. I'm getting that confused in my head with how many games there are. I feel like there's something. Hey, go on, Nomad.
I don't like your tone, Dan.
Final remix, semi-final, not quite finished remix.
I'm not even counting Dream Drop Distance and all that. Yeah, there's all those. That's what I'm talking about. Forget the 2.5 HD remix. I'm talking about like the mobile
Distance. That's a main game.
There's not a number on it. It's not a main game if there's not a number on it.
No, that's absolutely a main game. You have to. Like the .2 is like less of a main game than Dream Drop Distance is.
No, man, just keep barreling through. You're going to turn them off to this, Ray. You're not helping.
Well, no. This is adding fuel to why I want to, and the reason being, it's like all of this together. I've heard all of this in other mediums, other ways, shapes or form, or what have you. I originally stayed away because I just don't want to commit the time. I don't want to commit the energy to try to understand what the series is about. But that was past Nomad, future-ish Nomad. I mean, I really, truly want to understand what it is that people find so appealing about these games and how they can just resonate with the story. Like some of my friends in some of the gaming circles I frequent, like, they won't shut up about this series, about how profound it can be, or how simple the messaging can be, how fun the gameplay is, and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, you know what? I can't stay on the sidelines for very much longer. I think I'm going to finally give this series a go. I feel like when I do give this series a go, you're not going to hear from me for like several months while I'm just like swimming in this entire series, but it's Kingdom Hearts for me. I'm going to give it a try someday soon.
All right, Nomad. So I mentioned earlier I would have a callback, and here we are. Hey, Nomad, would you mind showing your tattoo for me here? That Ray, Nomad has a tattoo of the Buster Sword from the from the Kingdom Hearts series. You'll notice he has a. See, that was my attempt to make up for my poor transition earlier too. I'm hearkening back to the third game earlier so I could properly make that joke for Ray about the Buster Sword from the Kingdom Hearts series.
I love all the Kingdom Hearts characters. They're great. It's just like
canonically giving voices to characters that did not have any with
I love
major Disney stars of the era.
I love major Kingdom Hearts characters like Leon, just in the game doing.
You mean David Boreanaz that
love
somehow picked that one up?
I can give you here. Ready? I gotta put this. I have to defend Kingdom Hearts.
The son of Philly. No! Don't do it. You're gonna make this worse.
No, it's a very simple. Like, where does the love come from? Because game one happens, and children everywhere are like, "Oh my god, Disney! I get to go visit Disney Worlds." And I
was a 20-year-old man, but okay, yeah, fine.
You don't understand. Like that, it's like that's the childhood game. Like the characters are children. The audience of that game were the children who were watching all the Disney movies. They were on VHS. And
I just
getting
love Final Fantasy.
Away.
I really don't appreciate this direction here.
And the Final Fantasy was to bring in the people that were a little bit older, but that game was about the kids, and then Kingdom Hearts 2 is just great gameplay. Kingdom Hearts 2 is just like the best of the gameplay that could be, and then everything in between is just fancy ideas to try out. That's really what it came down to. But the first game is the characters are kids and the audience are kids, and then the second game is you're now all experts, and we also fixed the camera that you didn't realize was so terrible in the first game, and the gameplay is top notch in Kingdom Hearts 2, and I don't think it'll ever get beaten.
And Nomad, for your stepdad, it's an action RPG. It's not turn-based. So
it's an action RPG.
Your stepdad may be in on this one.
Tell you and it brought everyone in, except when you play Chain of Memories. It is action, but it's also like card-based, which I thought was awesome. I think Chain of Memories is great gameplay.
I've got to. As soon as I dive into this, Ray, I promise you, I'm going to go through this journey with you, so I can understand this passion that you have right now.
If you skip right to 2 without going to those filler games in between, you're going to need Ray for a session to understand what is going on when the game starts.
Well, if you want to experience it the way that they told us to, It's 1, 2, and then find out the stuff that happened before. It works.
I'm sorry I didn't have a DS at the time that I didn't understand what the heck happened before 2 started, but okay.
And that is the only console that you actually do need. For whatever reason, I don't know the reason that they can't remaster the DS game, like the gameplay. Like every version of it is just cutscenes. I don't know why.
I'm telling you, he's not helping. He's not helping sell this. I'm just trying to tell him to stop, pull the ripcord on this.
I just don't know why the DS game couldn't be remastered. Like it's not like the touchscreen wasn't needed in that one. Really, I don't understand it. Everything else can be played on Steam. Everything else is there, but that's the only one. And then watch the cutscenes. I even played the mobile game. I played through that whole thing when it was live, and I played it with the rest of the world too. I love it.
I have to leave all this in now too. I don't.
Yeah, look, you can. I'm staunch defender of the story and everything about it. All right, done. Hey, by the way, what's been your favorite feature on Channel 3?
That's a great segue. So my favorite feature on Channel 3. Well, I've got 2 because they kind of go together. What really drew me to Channel 3, and I meant to do this off the top, but I'm going to do this right now really quick. I want to give a shout out to my pal Lindsay over at LL Cool Games, the YouTube channel. She's a frequenter of Channel 3. She's the one that brought me to you guys. So Lindsay, I love you. Thank you for bringing me to these awesome individuals. And once I got my foot in the door and really got an idea what Channel 3 was all about, number one, the quests. Just quests is probably my favorite feature if I had to name one of them. The idea that, I mean, some quests are just topics, talk about this certain thing or give your opinion on a certain thing. Other quests require you to do something, prove your mettle, do a thing with a video game, beat it, or showcase something or other. Like, I hate social media, like with a burning passion. If I didn't have a podcast to promote, I probably wouldn't be on it. But one of the things I don't like about social media sometimes is even though I'm very talkative, obviously, I sometimes don't know what to talk about or what would make interesting conversation. I love that some of the quests are so well thought out that they make you think about an answer or a topic. And I love putting effort into my answers instead of just a 1-2 line thing. And nothing against anybody that does that, but I love thinking through an answer and using that to spur some discussion. So I love quests, but then adjacent to quests, I love taglines. I love those little taglines. I'm a trophy hunter, an achievement hunter, and I just love getting those little accolades of either I accomplished something like landing on the deck in Top Gun on the NES, so now I have the Top Gun tagline, or I beat Uncharted or platinumed it, and now I have a little tagline that kind of shows off that achievement. Like, I love taglines. I hate when you guys put taglines in the prize shop because I lose my tickets to taglines. But I love that. It's so cool because now I get a way to really incentivize myself, not just to get a shiny thing, but like do something, engage with people to get the thing. Like, that's social media. That's my favorite. Long-winded answer, but I love quests and taglines.
Well, I'll say this as somebody who's, if I look very quickly, who's been on the site about 100-ish days or a little more, you already have the quest mini boss tagline for having 100 quests completed.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, you're on it. I'm staring at all the taglines you have already.
There's something about it, and it's nice too because every once in a while I get to go back and as long as I've got a screenshot or something that I've saved, I record a lot of my own gameplay. It's nice to be able to go, hey, I did that. Now I can flex my muscles a little bit and actually have a conversation about this game I beat or whatever. Like, it's addicting.
I'm so terrible about that. I have so many bookmarked quests for like complete this game. I was like, yeah, I did. I did complete that game. I have a picture of it too. I have so many bookmarked, and I never take the extra step of uploading them.
What game do we need to add one for? What's the one that you may have not even found if we have it yet? We're constantly adding backlogged games for quests. Usually it's when one of us thinks of a catchy tagline for it, especially, now with the achievements, we can use the achievements when it works. Oh, thanks Claire Obscure Expedition 33 for naming your final trophy the end. That was really helpful, guys. Appreciate that. But there's other times where we get to use something a little catchier, but what's one you want to see we make sure we have in there?
358/2.
Nice. Yeah, it's hard to answer that question, to be honest with you. Like right now, there's a healthy mixture of games, both modern and retro games in there too. Just because we talked about it at the top, I would love more Resident Evil love, whether it's the older games or something newer, what have you.
Just the Biohazard, called tagline Biohazard, just to make it go real hipster about it. Yeah,
something like that, or Stars, the police force they're part of, or whatever.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right, I'm in.
Blame Dan for that.
No, good luck everybody, because there's going to be
that's his area.
A stackable Star Agent or something tagline for each Resident Evil game. I know you're not in there by then, but I kind of like we did Master Chief or Spartan for the Halo ones. They're going to stack, and the Final Fantasy that stacks for that one. Okay, good call. That is an oversight by me. We'll fix that.
There it is. And on that note, we've made it to the end of another What Are Your Three podcasts. Thank you, Nomad, for being with us. You can find a podcast at c3.gg/podcast, dropping every Wednesday morning at 3:33 a.m. Eastern on all major platforms, including Spotify, YouTube Music, and Apple Podcasts. I'm Ray. Dan puts this all together. Our theme song is by Caster Garden. And for our executive producer, Joel Willis, have a good day, everybody.
Oh, hang on. I lost you there. Ray, did you lose him or just me?
I lost him too.
Okay. Uh-oh. Microphone die? Microphone pick up something weird?
Webcam started fighting again.
The Final Fantasy VIII apologist hacked into his computer.
Yeah, somebody was unhappy. He started talking about Final Fantasy VIII and how good it was. And the program
I think it was the fact that I was making fun of the hipsters who love it. But
I might have clicked at the same time, but
nope, I can't hear no.
Well, must have been me.
He was talking everything's just fine, and then suddenly he's gone. Oh wait, hang on, wait, don't do anything. Let me see this. Wait, say something now, Nomad.
Bananas?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Dan? Like I had a reconnect mic button on my screen for yours. I don't know what, like, it gives me some capabilities here, but I was able to reconnect you.
Do you hate Final Fantasy VIII that much? You muted our guest hipster, over it?
No, it was me making fun of it. I think he liked it so much that me calling it the hipster picks what set it off.
I'll say that's exactly when it happened too.
and I'm even more of a hipster because I'll say 9 deserves love that it doesn't get. So I try to out hipster the hipsters by saying 9 is the answer.
That's all right. That's actually where I was heading next.
Oh, whoa! Please go. Then by all means, please, sir.
Yes.
Channel 3 is the future.